I'm live. Are you live, Rob?
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, here we go. Well, that didn't play. Okay, no audio. Hey everyone, welcome to the new media show. I'm back in the studio scrambling I don't even know. I don't know what the word I want to use, Rob, but I turned everything on last night and updated it. And then as soon as 30 minutes ago I started, okay, I'm just ready to go live. And everything in this brother asks for a verification, authentication, make sure who I am, sending a text, sending a phone. Here we are. And welcome back to the studio.
Yeah, I guess it speaks to how fast things are moving these days around updates to platforms. And if you're not using it on a regular basis, I guess we just take for granted how much of this busy work that we do to keep connected and updates to APIs and OS updates and all the stuff that keeps us all scrambling all day and why everybody's so kind of burned out and,
You, you
and
know,
trying to keep up with it,
you
right?
know what was funny was is I knew when I got in last, and I got in last like 8 last night
Oh, you did.
after traveling like 30 hours, and you and I were kind of screwed up on when to go live, and then I said, yeah,
Yeah.
I can do 3 o'clock tomorrow, no problem.
Okay.
And my last meeting was at 2:15, and I got started everything ready. I actually had groceries delivered, so that took about 10 minutes, and turned everything up. And then I'm like, Rob, I need an extra 15 minutes.
Right.
I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we are, and it's and believe it or not, everything really worked. All the electronics worked. It was just
Yeah.
the
It's a software.
authentications. Yeah,
Right.
all the authentications. We're live and lit, but I'm not. I didn't do a lit and live stream because I didn't announce that. I didn't have time. So yeah, here we are, and welcome back, everyone. And I have a little tone in the ear. I think I know where that's coming from. Um,
I can't I can't hear anything. So
Yeah, and I know exactly where it's coming from because as soon as I hit play for our intro music, it didn't play. That means the little 1/4 inch dongle is hanging on the back, not plugged into the to the road. So,
yeah.
so what are we talking about today? Anyway, what's on our schedule?
Well, uh, I'm open to any topics that you're willing to talk about too here, Todd. But I kind of laid out a little bit of a outline of different things that are going on that we could talk about here. And one is the Podscribe December ranker that was pointed out in a discussion group, a podcast group that I'm involved in, and it shows some interesting trends. I'm sure that you don't probably have it
I,
open there
I
to be able
haven't,
to
no, I
bring it up.
haven't read it. So go ahead and give me the breakdown.
Well, there's a ranker of the top 10 kind of like platforms that are out there, and their distribution of content that's on them that is being consumed by RSS versus YouTube.
Oh,
So it's kind of breaking out what these big platforms, and I'm talking about like Spotify, Wondery, Acast, NPR, Libsyn Ads, iHeartMedia, Audio Boom, Sirius XM, and then I guess Studio 21 and Q Code. So they're part of this Podscribe kind of podcast rankings
mm-hmm.
for December 2024. And what was pointed out to me, and I think just to kind of preface this, is that I've also heard others online mention that maybe the Podscribe numbers are not entirely reliable
Mm-hmm.
on this aspect. But what is very interesting that a person noticed in here is the huge difference in, I guess, plays that are on RSS via YouTube for those platforms. And I guess there's some confusion about, well, what's actually being tracked here? is all of the episodes that are published on like the YouTube channel all being counted here, where on the RSS side is it only counting what was delivered just in December,
Well,
right? So,
when you submit via YouTube via RSS, you have to go on YouTube numbers. There's no data that comes back to the podcaster.
well, no, I think that there's a clear line of separation between RSS in YouTube and what's being consumed in YouTube, right? So it's not necessarily the same thing, right? So, and it's not clear about that here, but what it does show is it just show 5 out of the 10 networks that are listed in this Podscribe ranker as having dramatically more plays on YouTube than they do via RSS.
But isn't a play on YouTube anytime you just click play and it lasts for 5
Well,
seconds?
yeah, that's always the question that follows this ranker, right? Is, what's the detail on this, right? And what is it including? Is it including just episodes that were published in December, or is the YouTube count here counting all the plays that happened on a particular channel in December, right? Which could include a bunch of archives too, right? So it may not be content that was just published in December. Right. So I don't know.
It's apples and oranges. The numbers are, I don't know how you can even do a comparison.
Well, you can based on when a piece of content is published, right?
Well,
So
again, if it gets 1,000 downloads in an RSS feed and it gets 1,000 plays in YouTube, it's totally two separate numbers and have totally two different conceptions on. I guess I'm confused.
It's not entirely different. It's content was published via RSS. Was that same content in a video format published in YouTube during the month of December? And that's the assumptions that I have.
So what is the debate?
Well, the debate is that the numbers for those 5 channels are dramatically higher on YouTube than they are via RSS. So, but there's other ones in here that are much lower on YouTube compared to RSS.
Well,
right?
I think that would make sense. Some shows are going to do good over there, some are not.
Okay, but if you can accept one, we have to talk about the inverse of that, right? So, and that's what we're seeing here is 5 out of the 10 have dramatically higher YouTube plays on their content than they do RSS. And then the other 5 have larger RSS-based consumption than they do on YouTube. So there's a lot of factors that go into this.
So what's the debate?
Well, the debate is what's going on here. Is it possible that that Libsyn Ads, primarily an audio platform, right, is showing 397 million plays on YouTube from content that's published into YouTube via Libsyn Ads, and it's only showing 45 million plays on RSS.
So did they monetize those 790 million ads on YouTube?
Well, Libsyn Ads has been bundling YouTube plays with RSS plays.
But they don't get paid the same. They never have.
Well, but they are bundling them together in ad buys. It is what I'm trying to say. So if you have a host read that you're doing in your audio,
yeah,
that host read is also done in the video side that's published to YouTube. And YouTube does have an API metrics API going back into Libsyn, so they could compare those around plays during a particular window of time. Now, I agree with you that the way that audio is counted is different than the way YouTube is counted, right? So, but it's just an interesting contrast to look at real data. I just don't know what the data really is including in here to really draw any very hard conclusions here.
They need to list the shows that got the 790 million downloads.
Well, it's a ranker. So, yeah, I do believe that they do list them in here. So, like, just to use the Libsyn Ads as an example, it's listing 857 shows.
Oh, 857 shows that got 790 million. I don't believe that at all.
No. 390 million plays on YouTube, 45.8 million plays on RSS
Across
So
800 some shows.
across 853 shows.
Let's do some transparency then, Libsyn. Let's list those
Well, no,
800 shows.
No, this is Podscribe. This
Oh.
isn't just
Oh,
Libsyn.
Podscribe.
There's 10 companies. Like I just listed all the companies that are in here. The other one.
How does
that's in
Podscribe
here-
know this number?
Well, that's kind of the bigger takeaway here is that these numbers are being put out there and it's drawing people's kind of questioning of what's going on here and why are we seeing such a big discrepancy between plays on YouTube versus RSS plays from platforms that are predominantly audio, right? So that's, where's the reality here? So that's the big question, right? Is why are we seeing this kind of data? If you look at, this isn't just a bash on audio here. If you look at
I'm just wondering how
ranking.
Podscribe's getting these numbers,
I don't know. I can't really speak
because
to
they're
that.
not running a pixel on YouTube. Not allowed. How do they get
Well,
this data?
Well, it's coming from what they know from, I don't know, these platforms. I guess there's reporting going on between Podscribe and these platforms somehow, right? So else they wouldn't be putting out a ranker, right? So on the audio side, so if you look at the audio side, the month of December for all these platforms like Spotify, Wondery, Acast, Libsyn Ads had big increases in their audio consumption, right? So Spotify is at 15%, Wondery's at 8%, Acast is at 6%, Libsyn Ads is at 21%, Audio Boom's 34%, iHeart's 13%, and that's on the audio consumption side.
In
for the month
relation
of-
in relation to what? As a group?
Yeah, well, it's month over month growth, right? So is my understanding of it.
Month over
So
month growth, 21% growth in 1 month.
That's what I'm gathering here, and then it ranks out the video side of this as well, and it shows less growth on that side. It actually shows Q Code at 15%, Spotify at 15%, and Studio 71 is not showing any growth. But it says the summary of the growth trends, audio is up 16.17 average growth, and the video side is up 10% on average across all of these.
Here's
platforms.
here's what, they can put all these reports out, but here's what I want to hear. I want to hear from the podcasters. I want to hear for the podcasters that are doing well. I want to hear from them folks to tell me that my audio podcast put on YouTube via an RSS feed is doing better than my audio podcast being delivered via podcast apps on YouTube. I want to hear the podcasters say that, and I want to hear that this is
Yeah, but
because
Todd,
this is RSS.
I don't think that's what's being talked about here. I think you're talking about apples and oranges here.
But you said it was RSS. They were being ingested by
it's
YouTube via RSS.
No, I didn't say that. You said that. So I said this content that's being published into RSS versus content being published into YouTube.
Okay.
I'm not saying
Okay. That's fair.
that what we're talking about here is RSS
Okay.
delivered to YouTube.
Okay,
I
so-
didn't ever say that.
So what I want to hear from those 800 some podcasters is that I am making 10 times the amount of money I'm making on podcasts as I'm making on YouTube. 10 times the money on YouTube. That's what I want to hear from them. I want these folks to start being very transparent. This whole conversation is all advertising driven, all of it. Everything that's been talked
Well,
about.
that's the whole point of Podscribe and their ranker, right?
Again,
It's to-
but I want to hear from the podcasters that
Well-
are doing well. And
Okay, well,
let's
yeah,
start.
but that's not going to answer this question.
No,
It's not gonna answer
it will
this-
start answering the question that My podcast that did X million downloads on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, my audio podcast earned this much. My video podcast on YouTube earned this much. And when they start talking about real numbers, then I'll start to listen. I again,
Well, why
advertising
don't you
fluff.
want to? Well, why don't you want to listen to what numbers are showing, and we can prove them or disprove
Well,
them,
again,
or we can question them and
I
and those
don't.
kind of things. But this is what the industry is
This is what
seeing.
Podscribe is saying.
I know, but people are seeing what's happening here.
Okay, they're
So,
seeing, but is there proof?
well, that takes into account kind of a perspective on whether or not Podscribe is a credible data gathering platform,
I know nothing about them.
or the same thing with Triton's ranker, the same thing with Podtrack's ranker. I'm not lumping them in here.
Yeah.
This
I'm
is
not
the
saying their
first-
numbers are wrong, but it'd be nice for them to explain the methodology on how they're getting this data. Maybe people just know that Podscribe is doing this, but
Well, I mean, even if this stuff is correct, it's not really a threat to anyone.
I'm not worried about that from that perspective.
I mean, it's clear that the YouTube platform has it's the number 2 search engine in the world. It's where billions of people are going to consume content. So just the fact that things are big over there doesn't take away from the success of RSS via audio, because just clearly these numbers that I just shared with you show that the audio consumption side is actually growing faster. So, it's okay for both of these things to be potentially true. It's probably a strength for the medium that we've kind of diversified, and the audience, and we're reaching audience at a scale like we've never reached before. If these numbers are true, I don't think it could be a negative for the industry because of the business models involved.
well,
But that's a different problem than what's going on with the
I don't
audience.
think there's an issue with the business model. The business
Yeah, there
podcasting
is.
is.
I mean, it's been expressed by James Cridlin and others that there is a threat to the audio business model, what's going on with YouTube
Well,
and Spotify.
I think what will happen here is this next coming year, we're going to find out. And if all these,
I hope so. I hope we find out what the truth is, and this may be a little bit of a glimpse of what
So the-
potentially that truth.
so
could be.
the discussion then in the group, were they incredulous to these numbers, or what were they? What was their
I
consensus?
think a lot of people were questioning the credibility of the analysis based on what the criteria was to actually come up with this. So I think that's the bigger question, is that if we're going to see this kind of trend line, it needs to go under the microscope of interpretation and clear understanding about what's being ranked and talked about. And that's one thing this show has been all about over the years. And oftentimes we get it wrong here on this show. But the audience and people involved in it will set us straight, right? And help us understand what's going on here. And that's the only reason I raised this, is because people in the industry are seeing this, and they're probably having the same question in their mind. Well, is this really accurate? And what's wrong with the data, or what could be wrong with the data that's giving us this when it could be incorrect?
It's the thing is, when people start focusing on plays and downloads, this is where, I mean, I've said this for years.
Yeah, but
In video, a play doesn't mean you got paid.
well, and it's not implying here. It's just talking.
It's just
about
talking about
played
pure plays.
plays.
A download that's qualified with advertising in it, you are. So if you have advertising running in an audio podcast,
Yeah, but Todd, I wouldn't assume that all these big companies are using audio hosting platforms that are not IAB compliant. So,
well, I think the majority of them are.
yeah, I mean, that was what I meant. was
So yeah, so
they-
so
they're
what,
all analyzing
Yeah.
the the data correctly.
So I'm going
the
to
question gets back to is what is YouTube doing?
I'm going to assume, let's say a show that is in this reporting or whatever Libsyn
Right.
even reports on the audio side, every one of those downloads that had advertising in it was paid.
Nope.
They got because it got qualified.
It doesn't say downloads anywhere in
But
the
it plays
the
downloads.
interface.
People have stopped using the word downloads for years, so they use the word plays. It's the same
Right.
thing.
Well, it's because that's what the advertisers
Right.
want.
So they're still getting paid for that play because it's been qualified as a download that they call a play. Just leave it at that. In YouTube, and I don't know enough about YouTube. I'm not a YouTube genius. I don't have a YouTube channel that's monetized. In YouTube, you probably only get paid for an ad that was actually played.
Yeah, right.
But that
I mean, I have a monetized YouTube channel.
But you may have gotten 1,000 plays, but only got paid for 50 ad deliveries.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big black box.
Right. And
I
YouTube
agree with that.
and
I just-
YouTube decides what amount you're going to get paid based
Well, yeah, I mean, it's based on what you would expect. You know, like I can see the average CPM on a video that I have, and I can see I can see who's listening to it, what the demographics are, what the play patterns are, what the time spent listening or watching are. I can see all that data.
But again, you're only going to get paid if that video or ad was delivered on YouTube.
What actually, I think it's paid if an ad was delivered.
If an ad was delivered, right. And then for those of us that don't have ads, you may get a percentage of money based upon share or whatever. But so the question then becomes is when you see your plays, but do they, again, I'm not monetizing YouTube, so I don't know. You just see the average CPM. If you had 10,000 plays and your CPM was $4, then you get, whatever the CPM end up being, because there has to be a difference between plays. If you got 1 million plays, you didn't get paid on 1 million plays because there wasn't 1 million ads delivered. See what I'm saying? Do they even tell you that?
Yeah, I don't really know on the back end how they're actually doing that.
They just tell you what a CPM you're making from that show.
Right, and it tells you what your revenue is based on that. I mean, I suppose you could back into a number if you had your play count and then were able to back into it. But also keep in mind too that the advertising models on like a YouTube are very complex, right? There's all sorts of different types of ads. If the user's on a paid premium plan with no ads, then you get a cut of the revenue from that subscription, right? So which can be pennies or something like that. So if you just look at Libsyn ads in here, this ranker does break out some other data points which are kind of interesting too. The percentage of ads that are in that ranker for RSS-based audio as well as YouTube shows that 61% are host read, which means that the ad is being host read into the content and being passed to YouTube as well as the audio podcast.
Then I wonder how they're backing that out and paying on that.
Right. And then it's got another category, which I can't really determine what it is. It has like 81% or something, but I can't determine exactly.
That would be a total scam if they're able to charge total YouTube plays on host reads and just charge the normal CPM for it.
Well, I know that's what like a Libsyn ads does is they bundle the.
But again,
the plays.
Again, right? They're not paying a $25 CPM on a YouTube host read on a play on YouTube. I would be utterly shocked if they were.
I don't know what the CPM
So,
could be
somebody out
across
there
on a,
knows. Somebody knows.
yeah.
Who knows? Tell us.
Well, I think if you looked at the past numbers back when Lips and Ads was announcing their CPMs, of
Yeah.
which they've stopped, which is a little bit of a red flag about
Hmm.
something, but I believe it was in the $19, $20, $21
So
range was
if
the average.
so, the way to be transparent about this, which they don't want to be anymore, is tell us what the CPM is on podcast, true podcast deliveries, and what is the CPM on YouTube deliveries. That's where we need
Yeah,
to see what the CPM is.
and they may not want to tell you because it
Well, they
probably
don't.
varies from show to show. So so it's always going to be just an average. So and then the other number that's fascinating in here too that you can break out each of these networks of sorts is what the ad load percentages is.
Oh, and I've
So
seen lots of articles recently about people complaining. More and more people, especially Joe Rogan's show, people have gone off on people that are
yeah,
paying for Spotify,
and still getting
still getting
ads,
ads.
right?
Oh,
Well,
they got screwed, didn't they?
well, uh, so Lips and Ads shows in here an 8% ad load. So, but if you hop down to, let's say you go down to Audio Boom, which also has a similar kind of, but less kind of breakout difference around YouTube and RSS based audio, their ad load is 7%.
Okay,
But
7% of what? The total show length? So that
yeah,
means
yeah, exactly.
that means in 60 minutes you're going to get
Seven
Libsyn was
minutes of, well,
8%.
no, it'd be less than that. What's
And I have to do the high
7%
school
of,
math here.
right? I'm not
60
sure what,
minutes.
it's probably like six minutes or so probably. But I'm just guessing. I'd have to break out my calculator to really do
Yeah,
it.
so let's see here.
But you know, Audio Boom and Lips and Ads are doing between 8 and 7% ad load. But if you look at, let's see, if I pull up another network, Wondery's in here as well, and is showing 94 million audio plays on RSS and only 8.9 million plays on YouTube. So it's inverse of what we were just talking about Libsyn. So Wondery is predominantly audio, I mean, dominating on the audio side, but they have an ad load of 12%.
So is this math right? 60 minutes, you would multiply 0.8%, point 0.8.
Point, 0.08 probably, right? Times 0.08, right?
Yeah, 0.08. Yeah, I think it's like 4 minutes or something like that of
Yeah, it's
of
probably
ads.
four or
Yeah,
5 minute range would be my guess.
yeah.
And then Spotify, which I think is interesting on their side, is that they show 90 about 93 million plays on YouTube and 150 million plays on audio via RSS. So with an ad load of 5%.
Yeah,
So,
I did do the math right. 4 minutes and 48 seconds of ads in a 60-minute program.
mhm.
That's a lot.
And then iHeart Media is showing 15 million plays on YouTube and only one, oh wait, is that 1.1 million plays via audio RSS?
That's horrible. They say they're number one. How
No,
much?
they're sixth on the list.
1 point. They only had. Oh, this is from Podscribe, not from. That's
Oh,
their
no.
estimation.
Yeah, I said it wrong. That it was 51 million on the audio side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say something's really wrong there.
Yeah. So the audio side for iHeartMedia is 51 million. The video side on YouTube is 15 million. So it's a dominant audio platform, and of which it looks like 34% of those ads are host reads.
So ESPN's
So,
not in that list anywhere.
and well, let me give you the last number that's going to blow your mind. On the iHeart number, 16% ad load.
Wow,
So it's
9.6 9.
twice as much. Right.
My God, how much percent?
16% ad load.
That's crazy.
Well, they're a very strong kind of programmatic ad platform, right? So only 34% of their shows, or 34% of whatever it is, their overall distribution is with host reads.
So they're
So
they're playing 9 minutes and 36 seconds of ads for every 60 minutes of content. That's radio.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's
And the only
nuts.
other one that's up in that range is looks like is Wondery.
That I'm not
So
surprised because I've listened to some of their shows and it's just insane.
yeah, so
30
these
second break, 30-second break, 30-second break, 30-second break.
yeah. So this is why I'm sharing this, is because this is maybe I don't know how accurate it is, but it's a little glimpse into what's going on in the industry with the really big players, right? What they're doing in the market and why we're seeing kind of like a pushback
And
around ad
Libsyn
load.
says their ad load was 8%.
Yep.
Oh my God, unbelievable.
And it looks like that's kind of like, I think Spotify is the one that has the lowest percentage of ad load
It's
of,
because they
of
can charge more.
of everyone on the list,
It's because they can charge more for the ads
right?
because they got guaranteed plays.
Right. But it's a glimpse of data, and this data hasn't really been visible in any way, any place that I've seen until now. So, and it really shows you who the players are in the medium that are very focused on heavy commercialization, and it's the players that you would assume would be right.
Hmm.
Uh, Sirius XM is also in the ranker too. That's a satellite radio kind of platform in its origins, and it has a 9% ad load. So
That's not too bad.
it's still dramatically lower than iHeart.
Yeah.
So, but that's another one of those. I mean, it's Libsyn Ads, it is Audio Boom, Sirius XM Media, Studio 71, and Q Code are the platforms that are over indexing with YouTube versus their audio side. So half of the list, and half of the other list is indexing higher around audio. So
Because
I don't know if that gets back
well,
to a
it
strategy
depends
or
on
if
the
it gets back.
it goes back to focus.
Right.
Of course,
Totally.
iHeart
Totally.
does not want to. They're propping up their business with podcast. They don't want to
Yeah,
give that to YouTube.
I agree. iHeart doesn't benefit from driving a
No,
lot of attention to
no,
YouTube.
no. They don't want them to go to YouTube.
And it's the same, but yet we see SiriusXM, which is also an audio distribution platform, putting a lot of weight. I mean, their numbers are huge. I mean, so the SiriusXM platform had 23.8 million on the audio side, and they're showing 175 million on the YouTube side.
Well, if you
Which
think
is-
about SiriusXM, I canceled my Sirius XM that I had in my car. Matter of fact, because it was so they wanted insane money, like $300 a year or something like that.
Yeah.
You know. And then they came back to me 3-4 weeks later and offered some deal. It was like $50 or something like that. And I, like a dummy, I renewed it, and I haven't even, I've been out of my car 5 months this year. So, value I got there, because I only listen to one show on there, and it's just for, matter of fact, I can't listen to him anymore because he's gotten so political.
Yeah, so Todd, in the document, I shared a link to that Podscribe ranker. So, all the people that are listening to this they're probably going to look at the document themselves and kind of see the numbers because we're not showing it on the screen or
Yeah,
anything
all
like
I
that.
got from you was an email. So let me.
Yeah, it's an outline.
Yeah.
So there's a screenshot in there, but there's also
A link.
link to the actual ranker for December from Podscribe
All right.
that the listeners or viewers of this could probably get in the show notes after the episode.
Well, there has been some changes. I saw it come through and was kind of surprised, but Jared has stepped away from Podcast Movement, huh?
Yeah, I was surprised that. I think that happened maybe just before Christmas. I think.
And it sounded to me like there wasn't enough revenue to support his involvement. Is that how I read that?
I think that's a speculation that's going on about a reason for him leaving, but it certainly hasn't been confirmed by anybody.
So that's not a good sign for Podcast Movement.
Yeah, and that was part of a bigger topic that I wanted to talk about on the show. I think we've alluded to it a little bit in the past, but the kind of podcast conference struggle right now of who's the dominant platform, right? I mean, who's the dominant event right now, and that's a little bit of a sign that maybe Podcast Movement is maybe struggling, or it could be just Jared is wanting to do something else. I haven't talked to Jared to interpret what's going on here, but I think it is a little bit of a worrying sign that Jared would leave the team.
Yeah.
But,
to me, it's very worrying.
Yeah, but I don't, I've left things myself for other reasons other than the companies having problems. So
yeah, that's true.
So it's what it is. But I do ask the question at this point, based on what we saw at the last Podcast Movement, who's got the biggest podcast show in the world now?
Yeah.
Because it used to be Podcast Movement, and we used to assume that. But I'm increasingly feeling that the podcast show may be taking that mantle from them.
From a it's hard to compare because that venue is is a little weird. And I paid big for the location I wanted to be in this year. So I dug a little deeper than probably I should have. But if I don't get the bang for the buck, then I'll be back in the cheap seats next year, or the following year. But Podfest,
I feel that there's more momentum with Podfest now than I'm seeing. And actually, I was wondering about this because I'm really not hearing much of anything about Podcast Movement for their spring event.
Well, I paid to go, so I vowed this year if the numbers weren't good for the spring event, we would only go to the summer event for Podcast Movement.
Right.
So I'm not going to commit. I'm not going to be there. I'm sending other team members.
You're not going to go to the Chicago event?
To the Chicago event. So I'll be down in Orlando, obviously, for Podfest next week. But
I haven't made any decision one way or the other if I'm going to be involved in the Chicago event or not.
Yeah. So then we've got a couple other shows outside of podcasting that we're doing that we're not going to advertise. We're just going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So feel there's an opportunity, and we don't want, because every time I talk about a show that we're going to go to, then all of a sudden 2 or 3 competitors show up. So.
Well, can't have that now.
No. And they may be there already, but they wouldn't have heard it from me.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So we'll see.
So I'm just posing the question. The Evolutions event in Chicago is March 31st, and I'm really not seeing any kind of external marketing about that event going on.
It's a little early, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, contrast that with Podfest. Podfest.
Oh
is
my God, they're in my inbox.
Doing
Unbelievable.
world tour events, right?
Yeah.
Constantly year round now. I mean, I think Chris Kremitzos was like traveling for the last 6 months, going to different cities all over the country, and even heading to Asia.
So,
to do stuff.
I was just asking my contact that I was part of Podfest Asia, and I said, "Is that on again, or are we going to be back in the Philippines, or what?" So, and I'd like to hear an announcement on that if they're going to do it. Then I could plan my return around that date, because it's kind of weird. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been hearing that, it might make more sense for Podcast Movement to become kind of like a business summit event for podcasting or something. I mean, it's kind of turning into that anyway, right? It's not an event that a lot of podcasters go to.
Well, we downsized our booth, so
right. It's not a event that's really positioned itself to go after the full spectrum of this new creator medium.
Whereas the podcast show, I went bigger.
Right. And it's still focused on the business side, but it's focused on the full spectrum.
There's a full bevy of creators there.
Right. And
full bevy.
And what's interesting is Podfest is focused on really more the creator side.
Yeah.
It's not so much focused on trying to, be an event for Spotify to take a private room somewhere and have a bunch of meetings, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, they still have private meetings.
Happened.
They still have private meetings at the podcast show, but it's out in the open. They're on the edges.
Yeah. Well, that's the contrast.
Yeah.
But I've heard many people in the industry talk about Podcast Movement. Well, why go to Podcast Movement? Because they're not really a public event anymore. Really, it's an event for business people in the podcasting.
And it's very expensive.
And it's expensive, and it's during the work week, so it's positioned for people to go. This is their full time job.
Yeah.
This is what they do full time. So and that's different. There has been a little bit of talk that might be changing with Podcast Movement, where they might move it into a half in a weekend or something like that.
I would be shocked.
Well, I think it would be a smart move for them to do that. If they were to kind of shift the event, kind of split it up between Saturday and Sunday and then a Thursday, Friday, so those business people can just come in for Thursday, Friday at home, and then they can attract those creators again that can come in on the weekend.
There was a interesting topic on Engadget today. It says Google can automatically make a podcast based on your Discover feed.
Is that through that a Notebook LM platform?
It says Google knows a lot about you and your interests, and it uses that information to try and get more of your time and attention. New Search Lab experiment called Daily Listens can turn your Discover feed, and I don't know what that is, into a professional podcast. Google Discover is a created feed on mobile devices filled with articles and videos that the company Alago, it must be that's what's on the sidebar of my Android.
Yeah, I know. I've been playing around with some AI agents lately. There's a agent plugin that you can get for Chrome. It's called Do Browser. That's what it's called, and it basically integrates AI into being able to manage all your Google apps. So you can prompt it to, let's say, batch up a bunch of emails, go out and do a bunch of research, find an email address of a certain type of individual, and put it all into a bunch of emails, and then write a individual email to each one of them with your, like, whatever message that you want to batch send out to a bunch of people, and the AI will just pull all the data from your Google Docs, generate all the emails, and then it optionally will allow you to approve each one of them, or it'll just automatically send them all out.
Oh, wow.
So it's this automation that we're kind of moving into now, which is going to require all of us to have a lot of trust in these tools, right?
If you trust, you're going to get screwed. I think you have to trust and verify.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I would agree with that, but being able to automate the research. I mean, I was thinking about this because all of us use Chat GPT with our podcast to do like scripts, outlines, summaries, that kind of stuff.
Rob, you're not using the Blueberry Pie?
Well, it doesn't matter what AI that you're using. It's basically that's what most people are using that for, right? I mean, I think the next evolution is that the AI will do more deep research for you and will actually be almost like a representative of you out there. And I think that's the next stage for AI is agents.
My discussion at Podfest is going to be around AI and the production of your podcast. So
is this tool that you're talking about with on Blueberry, does it kind of do what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, but it doesn't record for you. It just does prep and show ideas and show summaries.
Does it do that kind of automatically based on a prompt you give it? Is that what it does?
Yeah, you tell it what topic you want to cover and who your guest is going to be, or if there is going to be a guest. And you give it a few links.
How much prompting do you have to do? Because I found this balance as I'm playing around with these agents is that oftentimes I have to give it so much information about what it needs to do that I might as well just freaking do it.
Well,
and that's the challenge.
You give it the topic of your podcast and what your goal is with the show. And and if you're going to have a guest, you give the guest name and hopefully you'll have a bio that you can link to, or a LinkedIn page, or Wikipedia, whatever. And then all we do with the show prep tool is help you with questions and topics. So we suggest 10 topics, suggest 10 questions for a guest, allow you to edit those, delete them, ask for more. And then once it's all done, then we produce a show flow for you. It comes up with a full show flow based on data that you've already preset into the system once. And from that show flow, you can print that out or use it in a PDF. And it's, I don't use the show prep tool myself because my prep is different. I have to go through websites and I got to find my links. My guy is out in CES today, so I'm doing show prep for my show tonight. And was just about done mid-afternoon with that. But again, it's not something AI can help me with yet. At some point, it probably will.
Well, I guess that's kind of the bigger thing that I'm trying to mention here is that, prompting is going to be an art, right? That all of us have to develop. And since I've started using this AI agent platform, this Do Browser plugin, it's caused me to think quite differently about how I prompt AI, right? I mean, it's asking for like links to resources, like a link to let's say a Google Sheet, right? That has data that it can know where that is. It can go into that. It can grab all that data that is relevant to what you want it to do, and it'll go in, or it can go into your Gmail and find things in your Gmail and use that to formulate a document or formulate a batch of emails or things like that. So, how do you prompt the AI to do what you want it to do is I think where the challenges are going to be. How much work do you have to put into the prompting and as a trade-off for what it's actually going to do for you?
Right. I think for some folks, we try to make the prep tool something you could do in 5 minutes, and get an output. And then you can, but most podcasters do them more than 5 minutes prep. So again, this is just kind of a preliminary, but I think the true value, as an example, if I was going to be interviewing you for the first time and didn't know you, but I knew of 5 podcasts that you had been on, or linked to your website, I bet I could come up with some seriously good interview questions for you in under 10 minutes.
And not have them be duplicated.
Right. Well, they might be
that's a
duplicated, but unless you listen to every interview that you've done in the past 2 years, then are you is that information relevant? So, we're looking at the AI stuff for stats and what we can pull out of all the statistics data that we have. And we've been really thinking hard on that. And quarter 2, we're going to kind of tackle it because I've got data. So it's more about, it's not even AI really anymore. It's more machine learning.
Yeah, I think that's the key really here is that AI that's working for you needs to index you. It needs to train on you.
Yeah.
In the content that you're making, so it can make better decisions for you based on what you've done and what your expertise is.
I took all of my blog posts that I've ever written for Blueberry, for Geek News Central, and I had that all brought into a database. I had all that information. I had personal folders of proposals, correspondence, you name it. And I built my own doppelganger.
Yeah.
So I have a GPT profile that is got my information that I wanted to share. And if I wanted to write, and I don't use it that much, but once in a while it comes in really, really handy. But
yeah,
a digital doppelganger is pretty awesome.
Well, that's an AI agent right there.
Yeah.
If you think about where this is going, it needs that AI agent that is yours, right? It's probably going to be loaded on your local machine. That's the direction that this.
Well, you can.
These LLMs are going to be distributed platforms, right? They're going to be in each of our computers, right? I'm sure you saw the NVIDIA announcement at CES about their new
I already have
RTX.
I already have one.
50.
The little unit. Yep, it's in a box here. I haven't opened it up yet.
Oh! Did they send it to you?
No, I bought one.
Oh, you bought one already?
Yeah, it was $249 or something like that, or $349 or something like that. But you need to know Linux. This is their little itty mini one.
Okay, yeah, I'm talking about their graphics card that they just announced.
Oh no, not I bought their little kind of like Raspberry Pi type of thing that you can run Llama or something like that on it.
Yeah. You also announced that little gray box that basically is running like it's like a tiny PC that you can put on your desktop and things like that. I think that's like $2,000.
Yeah, the one I bought was $249 or $349 or something like that. It's not
the cheapest graphics card of that GTX 50 series. They announced on the keynote was $549.
Yeah, it's not a graphics card. It's a standalone. It looks like a Raspberry Pi.
Okay, well, that's something different than what they announced on stage at CES.
Let's see here. This one had already been out.
I was blown away by the specs that this graphics card had. It was just incomprehensible.
Well, the AMD one here. Let's see here. Can I find? Where is it? History. I'm trying to find the.
So, Todd, the capability of this graphics card at $549 is almost like putting a supercomputer in your PC or your Mac or whatever. I mean, it has, from what I can tell from the specs on this thing, it's a complete AI computer in of itself that has petaflops of processing power inside of this thing. It's going to transform all of our PCs if we wanted to. I mean, he's even putting it in laptops now.
Wow.
That are selling for $1,200.
So what I bought was the NVIDIA Jensen.
Yeah, that's not the the thing that was announced at CES
Oh,
just
okay.
2 days ago.
Hang on, let me show you this thing if I can find it here. NVIDIA Jensen's Orion Nano. And this is nothing as, let's see here. Now, can I find it? Find the product here. Oh, yeah. So let me see if I can get a screen up.
Well,
All right. Hang on here. Let me go to. I'm not used to pushing these buttons, Rob. 3, I'm on 6. Let's go to 6. This is what I bought.
okay.
And it's for low level stuff. This is not for nothing heavy. This is just for, you can run security systems, security detection. It's not that fancy. But that's what I bought. And I know they made a bunch of announcements, but this is relatively new too. And it's a little more powerful than a Raspberry Pi. So
Yeah, Todd. It's called the Blackwell.
NVIDIA Blackwell.
Yeah, that's the one that was just announced.
And this
This
is for
thing
a
is,
Windows machine that you can.
Well, he didn't specify. I think it's for any PC that a manufacturer wants to use it in, I think, or
Yeah.
it can be a Mac, I suppose. It probably wouldn't be in a Mac. It probably would be more in a PC or a Linux machine. But just the processing power of this thing is
Yeah.
just off of the charts. I mean, it's going to change. It's going to change everything, Todd. I think this graphics card takes things to a whole.
Well, they've
nother
released
level.
a whole bunch of stuff at CES. So,
No, I know
um,
they have, but this is.
but you're going to need to be a super nerd to run one of these in your house.
No, it's going to come built into all the new computers.
Oh yeah, or they're going to have their own
It's-
computer.
Right. So this is a revolutionary moment. This is like going from, a Core i9 to a Core i50. So, I mean, it's got capability to process data. I think he said up on stage that this processor has the ability to process as much data as the entire internet traffic per second.
What?
That's how fast this thing.
And running in your desktop?
Yep. So you're gonna be able to run these AI models right locally on your computer.
Well, Elon Musk says that all human indexable content has been already been indexed by AI. Nothing more is left to index. So,
Okay, this GeForce GTU, it's the RTX 5090.
RTX 5090. Because I was
90.
looking at looks like huge amounts of money.
No, it's only $540.
RTX 5090.
And it features 92 billion transistors.
That's impressive.
Plus it provides over 3.3 trillion AI operations per second.
$2,000.
I think that's for the high end model of it, right?
Says starting at $19.99.
He announced it at 549 on the stage.
It must have been a different model.
Yeah. I think there's 4 different models.
This is the 5090. But again, you're going to need to have a machine that can run this thing too. It's not going to go in. It's not going into a. This is not going into a Mac.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah, I've got a Core i9 Dell computer here,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been trying to research if I can trade up because I currently have a GeForce CPU in this thing right now, but it's certainly not at the capability that this has.
Fernand asked me, and this is in Facebook chat. I'm having a problem bringing up YouTube chat. I'm going to look at that here in a second. Oh, this is what's going on. My phone is. I wondered what was bleeping at me. Ferdinand says, are podcast episode transcripts embedded in a post helpful to SEO, or are traditional show notes optimal? Well, both. Optimal show notes are best with the episode transcript is in the RSS feed as an XML file. So hopefully that answers your question. X is going crazy, and let me turn off my bloop. It keeps going bloop, bloop, bloop. All right, there we go. Silent this stupid thing.
Part of what the big impacts of this new platform, this new GPU, is its ability to process media.
Yeah.
I mean, even still today, if I want to create a 4K video, and I've got a very modern, fast computer here, it can take me 20 minutes to encode a 15-minute 4K video file.
Now that's where you probably need to switch to a Mac, Rob.
I'm not going to switch to a Mac.
This 90-minute show on my MacBook Pro takes a whopping 6 minutes to encode.
Yeah, but my comment really gets back to these new kind of GPUs that are coming out and available. You're going to be able to process very soon 6 and 8K videos.
But why?
Why? Because that's what these platforms are evolving into.
But why would anyone want to? You don't have the bandwidth. Most of us don't have the bandwidth to watch 6K videos.
Yeah, you do.
I don't.
I've got probably close to 200 megabytes per second.
Yeah, well, again, you're the exception, not the rule. I
think there's millions of people that have access on cable like that.
Well, there's as many that don't. My neighborhood, if I didn't have Starlink, I would have nothing.
Yeah, but
I'd have 15 megs down.
Okay, but Todd, how many people live within a 2-mile radius of you?
400 or 500.
Okay, that's not that many people.
But again, still, none of us have high-speed internet.
None of us?
No, unless you have Starlink. In my area, unless you have Starlink, you don't have high speed. You have 15 megs down.
Todd. Yeah, you're probably talking about 10% of the population doesn't have access to high-speed internet.
How much of the U.S.?
Okay, but that's not the argument that I'm trying to argue about here, Todd.
Well, again,
I'm talking about what the vast majority of people that live in the urban centers of this country have access to at least 100 megabytes per second downloads, likely today. So, this evolution to 6K, 8K, I mean, I already have cameras that can record in 6K right now. It's just I'm not using it. I'm doing pretty much everything in 1080 and 4K now. So, and I can't do anything streaming with 4K.
In the United States, 48 million people lacked access to high-speed internet.
Yeah, there's 340 million.
The issue is most prevalent in rural areas and tribal lands.
Right.
48 million. That's a number, Rob.
I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying that it's a fraction of the opportunity.
Well, how many people are in the United States? 300 and some
million.
Yeah. So okay. So
10-15%.
Yeah. So 8% of the people. No, 16% of the people don't have high speed internet. 14% don't have high speed internet. That's a big number.
Right. So we should hold back the progress on
No,
this?
I'm just saying, but why do you want to watch 6K video? You can see every wrinkle in your eye.
Well, okay. If you're younger, you don't care, right, Todd?
Well, again.
So, right.
Most people don't even have a 4K TV yet.
And increasingly, these platforms are building in abilities to, polish your face a little bit.
Well, good luck on that.
Well, I mean, it's part of StreamYard. It's part of many of these live streaming platforms to touch up your face.
I'll keep my wrinkles. Thank you very much.
I'm not saying you got to get rid of your wrinkles. I'm just saying what is recorded on the video, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be like that. And if you're going to be at 4K, it's probably a good thing.
Oh, here's the comment on YouTube. Peter Ribian, founding engineer of Podscribe, has a focus in AI. They could be arriving at the numbers through an equation, meaning a forecast equation. Yeah, interesting.
Though it's not portrayed that way. So
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a grumpy curmudgeon today. So
well, you've been struggling with technology here to some degree.
yeah, exactly.
That always leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Again, I think we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't. Cridlin is also in agreement that he thinks the video stuff has been. I don't know if you've been listening to any of his content over the last month, but
Oh no, I know how James thinks about this. There's comments going on Facebook and all sorts of stuff constantly on.
yeah,
this
he
topic
thinks
these days.
it's a little overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can take that position, but as we just saw in those rankings, it's a little bit of a mixed bag right now around what's actually happening. So and it just needs to be confirmed, right? Is it a bunch of smoke, or is there something really changing going on here?
I think change is happening all the time, but
Yeah.
what happens is the stuff is like a roller coaster, and
always been like that.
we've heard podcast audio is dead at least a dozen times now. Rob, you've joined the bandwagon here on audio
what? That audio podcasting
that
is
audio
dead?
podcasting is dead.
No, I've never said that. Tom.
The way you
I
talk,
haven't.
I feel like you've taken that position. So
No, I'm including video. I'm not excluding video or excluding audio. I'm including everything into the pie now.
yeah,
And that's why I talked about that ranker, is because it looks at both sides of the pie, and it portrays half of these networks are finding success with video. They still have growing success on the audio side.
Yeah.
It's not taking away from the audio side. It's just maybe those platforms are strategically positioning themselves to go after video and audio. And there's nothing wrong with that.
no,
I don't think.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So that's increasingly my position on this, is that if you're a content creator, life is kind of tough right now because you have a lot of choices to make, and you have a lot of complex platforms that you have to figure out what you're going to do or not.
And we are
And
9 or 10 days away from the doom of TikTok.
I don't know that that's going to go down. I would be surprised, but you never know.
Well, there's news that someone is trying to buy it,
I'm sure that's probably true. Yeah.
but without the logarithm. And anything without a logarithm is just another platform.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of algorithms that are out there.
Well, if you think about YouTube is nothing without a logarithm. They have an logarithm.
I believe same with Facebook. I believe same with X.
Oh, speaking of Facebook,
Yes.
interesting development there, huh?
Oh, with Mark Zuckerberg,
Yeah.
with his big announcement that,
Yeah, that-
he's anti-censorship now.
And it happened a day after he met with the incoming president. Interesting how that worked out, huh?
Well, everybody wants to be with a winner, don't they, Todd?
Yep, and all these companies that we're bashing seems to also be contributing to a inauguration fund. So it's just to me, it just cracks me up on how the tides swing.
Yeah, I mean but you have to ask yourself, how much has really swung,
Well, that's the question.
or is it a perception of a big swing?
Well, there's I can just tell you from tech support tickets, censorship is still happening, and deplatforming is still happening, and
it's
saying the
still
wrong-
happening in a significant way, even
Yeah.
on X.
Oh.
Elon's out there saying that he's a free speech platform, but in practical data terms, I don't believe that that's 100% true.
So I think
So-
it's less than it was, but it's definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm finding X to be a hell of a lot more entertaining than anything.
Oh, it is
right now.
definitely.
Oh, unbelievable.
Well, and I think on the last episode you talked about the entertainment value of TikTok.
Right.
It's being
Well,
up there too.
You know, the news gathering ability of TikTok and being
Oh,
able to,
yeah.
yeah, if you want to see what's happening with these LA fires, go on TikTok. That's where it's all at. That's where all the action is. You can, sadly, you can see it in living color as the whole city's being burnt down.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother show on that front. But yeah, I'm increasingly seeing these big platforms, all of them really, start to think about siloing their creators, right?
Well-
they want people to publish directly to them, only link to them, only post content to their platforms, and this concept of syndicating across, other, like creating a YouTube video and then linking to it from your X account or from Facebook is now being suppressed.
Long
So
live
people-
podcasting.
Right. So you have this kind of move towards all these platforms wanting to upload directly to them. And I've been saying this for probably a couple of years now, but that's the direction that everything is going right now.
Long live podcasting.
Right. And your ability to publish once and have all your content go everywhere is really only living in the world of RSS with audio.
The last bastion of free speech.
Yeah, well, there's some
Of true
truth to
free
that.
speech. Well, there absolutely is.
But if you publish it into one of these big platforms, that may not necessarily be the case. though.
Not at all.
So even if it's in RSS, doesn't necessarily make it a full free speech.
Well,
publish
if
into
you,
all
you
these
publish
big
into
platforms.
if you publish an RSS and you publish it into most people that are
Platform
having
that's-
success on
that's
YouTube
moderated.
are not publishing via RSS.
Right. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of let's talk. What is YouTube accomplishing by ingesting RSS? What's your comment on that?
They're getting data.
Well, they're getting data, but they're getting the attention of those content creators to get them to create a YouTube channel.
Right.
So, because that's the only way you're going to manage your content in there if you ingest it in RSS.
That's all
Has
you're
to
going to
go
get
to a
from it.
YouTube
That's
channel.
all you're going to get. You're not going to get no views doing it that way.
And those podcasters that are primarily just doing audio that enable their RSS to go into YouTube will go in and start probably creating videos. And that plays into, well, I think it's increasingly happening.
Yeah.
And you see the same strategy with Spotify. Create your RSS feed into Spotify, and then if you want to upload video, that replaces your
audio feed and takes
your
all
audio
your money
file.
away and takes all your control away.
right. So it sounds a lot similar to YouTube. So
Well, I think
anyway.
podcasting is safe for the time being.
is. Yeah, I think we're okay on that side. It doesn't appear that from what I've seen in the numbers, it doesn't appear that the audience for audio, it doesn't appear that it's declining that I can see.
Yeah, time will tell.
Well, I hope it doesn't. And every indication that I've seen so far is that audio is still strong.
Yeah.
It's just, this nagging video thing keeps coming up.
Well, you're obsessed with it. I'm not so obsessed with it.
Well, I'm obsessed with it because I want to know the full spectrum of this, because I think creators are increasingly challenged with this question, right? And I want to be able to give them a smart answer. So that's what it comes down to for me.
I think those that are really wondering about video are just doing video, and they don't need to answer any questions. They're just going for it. And they have been for a long time.
Yeah, I think I've said it, that it's easier to start on the video side and then go over to audio than it is to go from audio over to video. I think you've done a lot of the heavy lifting if you're doing video, I think, that will potentially, it's an easy adjustment to go over to making that as an audio program.
Mm.
It's easier that way. I'm not saying that it's ideal or best or anything to take that approach, but that's kind of what I've done,
Mm.
and I've tried it and played out that particular scenario, and it's an interesting approach to the market. But fundamentally, being a digital creator means that you're creating content and all these various ways that you can slice and dice and distribute and take various versions of it and put it out in various platforms gets to the heart of what podcasting really started out as being, as a syndication strategy. So,
And what's interesting in some research I've been doing is that there are certain podcast hosting companies that are really doing a lot of video, but they don't support video.
yeah, well, yeah.
And
That's
it's
the
a
challenge of the age.
it's
here,
a very interesting strategy. They're doing a lot of video, but they don't support video on their platform.
Who are you specifically referring to here?
It doesn't matter.
This comment. It doesn't matter.
But it's very interesting to see the strategy.
Well, there's one podcast platform that's been doing that for many years, and actually was leading in it. I believe. Are you thinking of the same one I am?
Mm-hmm.
Thou name shall not be said. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if that rule applies with them, but anyway,
No, it's not a big secret.
no. But it's
Are you
awful.
thinking of Buzzsprout? Is that
Yeah,
who you're thinking of?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've always had Albin over there has always had this
yeah.
this video prioritization that he's.
But they don't support video on their platform. That's the
I
fun
know.
part.
Well, it's just a marketing thing. He's
Yeah.
the marketing guy, right?
Yeah,
So it's a marketing strategy to reach new
Yeah,
potential podcasters, to educate them, and it's just the same thing, really, in a lot of ways, what you're doing with your podcast shows. That you
yeah.
have
But we
and
don't
this
do
show.
what we don't do. We've never had a YouTube strategy ever. So that's Blueberry's got stuff they put on YouTube, but probably to our detriment.
Maybe it's time, Todd.
Well, like I said, I've been doing some study.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Yeah.
But it's just ironic to me. So
is.
one of the few platforms that actually supports video.
I think that's another check mark for you Todd,
Yeah, I think so.
on that path. So, anyway, we can have fun about this.
Yeah, we can have
It doesn't
fun.
always have to be an argument.
So who is who is going to be joining us next week at Podfest?
John Miles, the MC of the Podcast Hall of Fame and
Okay.
host of Passion Struck podcast, very popular podcast, and he's a book author and things like that, as well as Rocky Thomas from
Oh, okay. And yeah, you told me
From,
about Rocky. All right.
from Soundstack.
And what are we going to be talking about?
I haven't figured that one out yet,
Oh.
Todd.
Oh, okay.
That's coming.
That's good.
I could only do so much each day. So
I
I'm
heard a lot of the sessions
sipping
are
away
being
through it.
streamed.
streamed live or just
Yeah,
recorded?
streamed. But
I haven't heard anything like that. I heard that they were all being recorded.
well, they're not recording the slides, which is interesting. They're only recording the speaker. And I thought that's a mistake. Slides
Yeah.
are important as part of, it's a tie into the presentation, but it makes you go,
Yeah, I wasn't planning on for my particular presentation. I wasn't planning on using any slides.
Yeah,
I was
yeah, we
gonna
never
get up and
do.
talk.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I'm not talking about our.
Oh, you've got
media
another
show.
session.
I'm talking about I've got another session that I'm doing, and then I'm
Okay.
also doing a panel session with some podcast Hall of Famers.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yep. So I'm doing 3 sessions plus the Hall of Fame, and we're going to get a recording of this show that we can put out from Podfest.
Oh, awesome. Hopefully some good audio this time.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to capture it with my Nomano either way, so we'll have a recording either way.
Okay.
Right
Did the
after.
Nomano recording last time work out okay, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are they still in business?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
haven't-
It's on the shelf back here.
I haven't heard
So
from them lately.
Yeah. Well, They do have a U.S. representative now,
Mm.
so he's based up here in New York.
Well, after 30 hours of travel, and I did get some sleep, but a full day at the office, I had meetings running. I mean, right up until we started turning, like I said, 45 minutes before the show, when I was scrambling to make sure the hardware would come online. I've had a full day. I'm going to collapse. I got my regular show to do tonight too. So,
Well, I usually do my podcast tip show on Thursday nights. So
so you got another one as well.
at 7.
All right. Well, I'll try to get all these put out today. And we're a little long, but we went a little short in the beginning. And
Yeah.
but all the
We started
recording,
late.
all the recordings are working. My background here, though, it's kind of funny. I can't. Apple update changed where my wallpaper setting was, so luckily you don't see my screen because you'd seen a Blueberry ad if you did. Because I don't have the new media. I don't have the new media show banner up. So just
That's
stupid
right.
little things.
I've got it behind
Yeah,
me,
you've
so
got
I
it behind us, so that's good. And I didn't have time to white balance the cameras; they're a little bright, but yeah, after being
No, it looks good.
yeah, well,
looks good.
it should work out. But anyway, we'll get out of here. I'm Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek News on X, at Geek News, at geeknews.chat on Mastodon.
All right. I'm at my name, Rob Greenlee, on all the social platforms, robgreenlee.com, and X. I'm on there as well. I post links to this to the New Media Show X account as well. So we try and keep that up to that's NMS
Audio.
Podcast.
Oh, yeah, NMS Podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you want to go there and subscribe to that, but you can certainly send an email to me, robgreenlee@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any like secret tips on things that are going on with the Podscribe stuff, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And join us for our live session at Podfest if you're there.
Yeah, it's on the 16th of January at 3:30 p.m.
Okay.
So
How long do we have? An hour or how long?
hour and a half
Oh, we got a full lineup. All right,
till
perfect.
5. Yep.
Come by the booth. We've got some secrets that we've kind of already talked about. But if you come by the booth at Podfest, you can get access to Guest Match, our new Guest Match Pro service.
What? I'd like to sign up for that, Todd.
Yeah, so it's still being built, but we're going to be ready in about probably 30 days or so. And we're probably going to make some people unhappy that we're competing with them in the guest matching service. But it's not just for podcasters. It's for all creators across all platforms. That's
So is there going to be any AI relationship here?
in the beginning, no. Well,
Beginning, no. I like.
well,
the way
there's
you couch that.
there is some but it's more machine learning. It's not necessarily AI in the beginning.
Right.
The matching algorithms are going to be more machine versus the AI stuff.
Yeah.
So
Sense, and then it's easier to transition into
yeah,
algorithmic matching. at
but
that
we're
point.
going to need guests and we're going to need to have creators. So
Yeah, sure. Interesting that you're using that term, Todd.
what's that term? Creators.
Creators versus podcasters.
Because it is a platform for everyone. It's not just a podcast specific platform. I would have called it Podcast Match or something like that, or something similar, but no, it's
I think that
probably someone
already has that.
yeah, I
name,
think someone
so-
has that. So yeah, so that's why it's Guest Match Pro.
Yes. Okay. That was a good choice.
Yeah. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for being here. We'll see you at Podfest, and if not, I guess we'll have a video to put up afterwards. Knock on wood.
And get in on the 15th. So are you in on
Yeah,
the 15th?
15th in the afternoon. Yep.
Yeah. Same with me.
Okay.
All right. We'll see. If you're going to Podfest, it's at podfestexpo.com. If
Yep.
you want to jump on a last minute flight, it's still a week and a half away, but
And one of our new partners is going to be there, Code ADX. So
yeah, I heard about that, Todd.
so if you're a Blueberry customer, you can we partnered up with them for another way to monetize your podcast. So
Not that everybody wants to do that, right?
But this is using a unique affiliate code methodology. Very,
Oh,
you get to pick who you want to promote. And there's
Oh.
special exclusive deals that can't be found anywhere else. That's the delta on it for the period
it's
of
not
time.
going to be like honey, huh? It's not going to be like the honey plugin.
Yeah, honey can go pack sand.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.